So thanks again for joining us for this webinar for the Texas cohort. This is an MDiv and MATM cohort that launches from our Houston campus this fall. But I wanted to share a brief presentation with you just about Fuller and then talk more specifically about the programs. Then at the end of this, we'll have a short Q&A. And then I'll leave you with ways that you can get in contact with me whenever you have new questions. So let's get started. All right. Many of you have maybe heard about Fuller before, maybe you know a little bit about us, but very quickly, I just wanted to give you sort of an overview of who Fuller is. So Fuller is an evangelical seminary. We're multi-denominational. We're a graduate institution, which means we only offer master's degrees, doctorates, and PhDs. But all of our commitment is towards providing indispensable formational education for diverse Christians, leading in every kind of context. Fuller is two schools in one. We have our School of Mission and Theology, and we have our School of Psychology and Marriage and Family Therapy. We're going to be talking about degrees that are in our School of Mission and Theology today, but I wanted you to know that we have another School of Psychology and Marriage and Family Therapy in case you have interest in those fields as well. And I mentioned that we offer doctorates, master's degrees, doctorates, PhDs. We have over students from over 80 countries. We have 113 denominations represented within our student body. We have an incredibly diverse alumni base, and our alums are and our students are all over the world. But let's zoom in to Texas, what's happening here in Texas. So Fuller has a campus here in Houston, and we've been here for the last 15 years. We've been in our building for the last 10, almost 11 years. So we have a campus here, we have a library here, there's things happening here in Houston at Fuller, Texas. But this fall, we're launching something unique. We're launching a cohort for MDiv and MA in theology and ministry students. So Fuller offers a number of different master's degrees. So we offer Master of Arts in Theological Studies and Master of Arts in Justice and Advocacy and Master of Arts in Chaplaincy and all kinds of things like that that are really focused towards different ministry contexts. But our practitioners' ministry degrees are the Masters of Divinity and the Master of Arts in Theology and Ministry. These are the degrees that you're most familiar with if you are in any kind of vocational or formal ministry setting. So let me talk about these just really quickly. The Master's of Divinity is our largest master's degree. It is, for many people, a terminal master's degree. This is what many lead pastors have. This is our comprehensive ministry experience. This is for the person who says, I want to study all the languages. I want to get some practical experience. I want to dive into studying the Bible, in particular books and things like that. Folks who pursue this degree are pastors, educators, scholars, some types of chaplains. This is as I mentioned, it's our longest degree. It's 120 units, which represents 30 courses, which is equivalent to, if you're used to thinking in semester hours, as some are, it's equivalent to an 80 semester credit program. But this program also requires 3 quarters worth of an apprenticeship. Again, you're getting practical ministry experience within your educational experience. So that's our Master's of Divinity. This degree typically takes 3 years to complete at a full-time pace. And then we have our Master of Arts in Theology and Ministry. This is what I often like to describe as our scaled down MDiv. This is a practical and focused, really targeted theological training This is for people who are pastoring. Maybe they lead in parachurch ministry organizations or in other kinds of ministries and ministry partners. It is 80 units long, which translates into 20 classes, 54 semester credits, and it requires a 1/4 apprenticeship. So again, practical experience. So those are the 2 degrees that are integrated within our Texas MDiv MATM cohort that launches this fall. And the MDiv takes 3 years, the MATM takes 2 years, but they are cohorted together because the core of the programs is the same. So you may be asking, what are the benefits of joining a cohort? Well, first of all, the learning modality is really unique to our Houston campus. This cohort is a hybrid cohort. So that means that most of your coursework is asynchronous and online, but you're going to meet in person for class intensives on our Houston campus 3 times a year. That is fall, winter, and spring. You'll meet here in Houston for 4 days for a class intensive. You'll be with your professors, you'll be with your classmates. But the beauty of pursuing a degree in an asynchronous and mostly online modality is that you can become theologically trained and educated without actually having to leave your context, to pick up your family, pick up your life, and move to a different place to study, and then move back 3 years later whenever you're all degreed and finished. Another benefit of joining a cohort is that you have a community. You have a pretty solid community. You're pursuing a full-time theological education, but you're doing that within the context of other men and women who are pursuing the same degrees. They're also getting their MDivs, their MATMs. They're experiencing the same kinds of things that you're experiencing. They're thinking about the same kinds of things that you're thinking about. The beauty of being in a cohort is that when you're in a dispersed learning environment, that means you're kind of all over, your classmates are all over the place. But in a cohort, whenever you have this community, you're still able to be in contact with people who are experiencing theological education the same way you are. And then finally, and this is unique to the cohort here in Texas, but our cohort members will receive the Texas Theological Foundation Fellowship. That means members of this cohort are going to receive a fellowship that covers 50% of your tuition, which is one of the largest scholarships that's offered throughout Fuller. That's a pretty significant savings for the quality of degree that Fuller offers. Now, you have unique questions probably to your circumstances, but I can imagine that there are some questions that you're really asking. So let's talk about those. First of all, let's talk about our calendar, the when. When does this happen? So this cohort launches every fall. A new cohort begins every fall. So we are launching this first cohort this fall, in the fall of 2024. Fuller is on a quarter system, which means we have classes that are offered 4 quarters per year, just in the fall, winter, spring, and summer. Each quarter is 11 weeks. That's 10 weeks of instruction with 1 week of finals. And in our cohort system, your hybrid classes will be 9 weeks online. One of your learning weeks will be here in person in Houston. And then again, that 11th week is for finals. And one course at Fuller equals 4 credits. So that's where we get that. 120 units is the MDiv. That's 30 classes. That's how we get that. And the cost. You are probably wondering, hey, just bottom line it for me. Well, What is this going to cost me? Tuition here at Fuller is $505 per unit, which works out to about $2,020 per course. Now, with all of these programs, the MDiv and the MATM both qualify for financial aid, but I mentioned we have the Texas Theological Foundation Fellowship, which covers 50% of your tuition. And at Fuller, you pay as you go. So you pay for the classes that you're taking right then. So 3 classes per quarter in the fall, the winter, and the spring, 1 class in the summer. And so you can do that math. But again, your Texas Theological Foundation Fellowship is going to cover half of your tuition each quarter. And then you probably want to know where. Oh, I mentioned we have these in-person meetings in the fall, in the winter, and spring. Those are 4 days long, Wednesday through Saturday here on our Houston campus. And that is why this particular cohort, because it's a hybrid setting, and is not available for international students because it's not student visa eligible, even though we do have these small in-person meetings. There are a few requirements for the Texas Theological Foundation Fellowship. First of all, you have to remain enrolled at a full-time pace to receive the Foundation Fellowship. You have to maintain a GPA of 2.7. And then we have different scenarios where you may have to volunteer for certain Fuller events or help with marketing or media efforts. What that may look like is if you're local to Houston, you might be asked to come to campus to help. Let's say, for example, we're having commencement and we need some folks to be greeters or to just help us with the logistics of the day. We're going to ask our fellowship members to offer some of their time back to us. Others of you who may be not local to the Houston area may be asked to sit in on a webinar like this to offer a unique perspective of a current student. You may be asked to, sometimes we have students who or applicants who reach out to us and they just say, is there someone I can talk to who's a current student who I can just ask questions about what is it like to be a student? Tell me what it's like for you. And so sometimes we use our fellowship recipients in those capacities. But essentially, we're just asking you to offer a little bit of your time back as a Texas Theological Foundation fellowship recipient in order for us to do the good work that we do here at Fuller. And then finally, I want to mention a partnership that we have with one of our local churches. Memorial Drive Presbyterian Church here in Houston has a partnership with us. They have a residency program, and their residency program is a 1-year residency. And the residency is practical ministry experience in a variety of areas at the church. I mentioned the residency is only 1 year, but you can apply any of the years that you're in seminary. So let's say, for example, you wanted to apply for a residency. Now, obviously, it's an in-person residency, so this is unique to people who are in the Houston area or willing to relocate to Houston for the year of residency. You can apply any year that you're in seminary. This residency program pairs current seminary students with practicing ministers in a variety of ministry settings, targeted and tailored to your particular interest to give you practical experience with mentorship. Their residency pays a small stipend. They'll cover some of your housing if you need it, but more importantly, they're going to contribute to your tuition here at Fuller. And that contribution, in addition to the Texas Theological Foundation Fellowship, will cover almost 90% of your tuition. And then finally, the application deadline for the Texas Theological Foundation, or for the Texas MDiv MATM cohort, is July 26th. That is just around the corner. But you still have time to get your application submitted and work on getting all of your materials into us so that you can be considered for the cohort, the very first cohort that launches this fall. And again, my name is Wendy Scott. I am the admissions counselor for the program. And you can reach out to me with any questions that you have about it. We're going to go to a quick Q&A time here, but here is where I'm going to stop the recording, and we will ask some questions.